Hello and welcome to your weekly tarot forecast for the week of August 4th through the 10th. I'm Michelle Shea Walker, desperately trying to distract you from the fact that I need to give myself a haircut with large and bright accessories. And this is your glass half full perspective on the week ahead. If you're a paid subscriber or if you tipped your reader this week, thank you very much. Please feel free to stick around till the end of this reading to see if you won the personalized reading draw. So I'm going to preface this week. First of all, I'm going to say that next week has a lot of the action that we're looking for this month in August. So this is still kind of like getting the momentum up and wrapping up loose ends from July before we get into the real juiciness of August. I've got a lot of good feelings about August. I talked a little bit about it last week. I've done some stories about it. It feels like it's a interesting month to kind of get our shit together and also maybe start like a passionate love affair. Like something about August is just feeling on vibe for love and summer romance. So that's really going to start feeling in the flow next week. So this week we are wrapping up loose ends, but also kind of getting through some of the messiness that we want to get through before we get into the juiciness of the bulk of August. So I'm going to say that the first 2 days of the week are going to be where you really want to like front load a lot of the stuff that you want to get done or a lot of the energy that you want to utilize to your advantage, because things do get a little dicey and a little confusing and a little turned on its head as we move towards the end of the week. So that's just the disclaimer of the week ahead. And we are going to dive into some cards and astrology. I am going to mention that I do have my AC on because I need a temperature regulation with as much as I've struggled with this hair today. And if you can hear that in the background, I apologize, but my AC is relatively quiet. And we are going to dive into this energy. But first, I want us to take a deep breath because I do feel like we're going to need some grounding, especially towards the end of the week. So we might as well start practicing it now. So give yourself a moment to find something solid beneath you. Maybe it's feet on the floor, maybe it's sit bones on the chair, but whatever it is, feel grounded in the moment. And from that point of grounding, grow your roots. Imagine that you are literally just sending roots down from your body energetically into the earth, and let that be something that kind of anchors you into this moment. And then I'm also getting, we want to do a little bit of energy clearing and just picture almost like a nice little breeze coming by and blowing away some of the static is the word that I'm getting here. So pulls towards technology, thoughts of conversation you've had earlier, frazzled energy from maybe manically looking things up online or reading the news or whatever it is. We need to kind of blow that away. So just feel that happening. And of course, my AC has decided to uncharacteristically rattle in this moment. And I think that that's fitting because we are having the wind come by and blow away those bad vibes, blow away the static energy, and we're staying grounded. So we're staying grounded through the static, but we're staying grounded through the cleansing wind that's coming through to kind of release that as well. So take a deep breath in and literally just blow something out that you don't need. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. Be here now. And we'll dive into the reading. So I love Monday's energy. So as of the time you might be watching this video, it's a really good energy to do some cleansing and prepare yourself for the week ahead, because we have very quiet astrology and our card is the Star card. And it's the only major arcana this week that is upright. So it is a green light for healing and transformation and self-care. So this doesn't necessarily feel like it's like put the world on pause, unplug the phone, get in a bath for hours on end self-care. It feels like more like what we just did, like being aware of your energy, being aware of the static, being aware of when the outside world is affecting you, and taking a moment to pause and ground. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing equation. You can still exist in the world on Monday. You can still interact with the outside world, but you need to notice when your nervous system needs to be regulated and do it early and often so that it can be just a brief moment of breathing, of grounding, of disconnecting. And then you can go back out into the world and you don't feel like you need to take an entire day or weekend or week or month away from everyone to be able to reset. So it's a present moment awareness of your nervous system and what it needs most, and when you need to step away from a conversation, and not letting yourself get overwhelmed with the fact that you need to step away from something, because that's also part of the problem. We kind of spiral in our heads of like, oh, I'm getting overwhelmed. And then the feeling and the thought of being overwhelmed makes you more overwhelmed. And then that just adds to the burnout and the stress. And it's normal. It's normal in every environment to get overwhelmed sometimes, but it's especially normal in our current climate to get overwhelmed. And I want you to accept that as a part of your experience and know the checks and balances that you need to put in place to regulate yourself. So give yourself some breaths, give yourself some time, but don't make it be a permanent vacation from something. We need to learn to be able to waffle back and forth between these two existences. And there is very much a tendency right now to be burnt out on X, Y, and Z, whatever that is for you, and need to feel like you want to check out completely. And that is not what we're talking about right now. We are talking about being gentle with yourself in a moment, but giving yourself a time frame of when you're going to go back into the world. So what is your reset button, and what does it need to be able, how often do you need to push it? And what amount of time do you need to take to step aside and do that little reset and find ways to do things in a way that feels really intentional? Because a lot of times what we're doing when we're trying to reset our system is we're doing things unconsciously. We're zoning out in front of a binge watch. We're eating food without even tasting it. And we want things to be really, really intentional. And that does take some time to get used to, of being able to be in stillness and just breathe. Because it feels like you have so much to do that you can't do that. But if you don't let yourself give that moment of release, of relaxation, it's the feeling that you're having is going to last for longer. Something that I've personally been working a lot with lately is sort of restorative therapy postures, yoga. They're not really yoga postures, but restorative postures that you have to kind of intentionally breathe into and release the muscles one at a time, and letting that sort of like reformulate the nervous system. And it does take longer than I want it most of the time to fully release into a pose. But if I give myself like 20 minutes to set aside, to sit with my legs up the wall, to sit with a different stretch that I need for the hip flexors to release any fight or flight mode that's going on there, like whatever it is that your body needs, wherever you're feeling tension, find the restorative setup, posture, position that you can relax into those muscles that need to release, and give yourself the space to be able to fully do that. And again, it might take longer than 5 minutes on some occasions. It might be like a 20-minute break that you're taking at the end of your evening to reset, but it's going to be more beneficial in the long run. I personally have been working with a YouTube channel that I really enjoy. So if you want a little recommendation, the Pain Academy is a great place to follow for gentle exercises on releasing the hip flexors, realigning the body, making sure that you're working with your body's optimal alignment in a way that's coming from a restorative perspective of working with your nervous system and letting go of all the tension that we build up in our body because we're like trying to acclimate to different things in our own physical form and in the outside world. And in doing just a couple of their really simple exercises that I find on their YouTube shorts, I have found that I am waking up with less pain in my body. I'm able to move around more easily, and I'm also able to reset. This also comes from just having a classic meditation practice as well. So even if it's not like a physical thing that you're doing, stepping aside, giving yourself those 15 to 20 minutes to meditate and re-regulate yourself is going to help you to be able to do that more quickly in your day-to-day life as well. But it has to be something that you commit to. It has to be something that you're willing to take the time for and to really fully commit to it when you're in it. So don't meditate checking your phone every 5 seconds while you're meditating. Like fully commit to the moment, fully commit to the process of letting go of the tension, of being present, of breathing into what you're experiencing. And by the end of that 20 minutes, you may just get like a second or two of that full release, but it's going to be worth it. But you have to stick to it. And it is a practice. It's something that you do want to do on an ideally daily basis. But that's what the star card is telling us. It's a really good day to work with that realigning of the nervous system, of really making sure that you have the routines and the rituals in place that are going to help you just step away briefly from whatever's stressing you out and be able to rebound quickly back into the world because you know how to reset your nervous system. Okay, my nose is itching. Someone, is that thinking, talking? Someone's thinking or talking about someone. Oh, that's a really intense one. Oh, okay. So let's dive into Tuesday. Tuesday, relatively quiet on the astrology. We do have the moon changing signs. It's going into Capricorn. So you might find that by afternoon, evening time, you're a little more detached from your emotions. That's not the right word. You're more businesslike with your emotions. Capricorn energy does have a lot of deep emotions, but they deal with it in a way that's very sort of like business appropriate. So you might find that that's occurring in your internal world. But again, as we always talk about, the moon changes signs through these signs every single month. So this isn't a big shift in energy, but you might feel it. And then we have the 8 of Wands, which I'm really excited about. So I think that Monday's sort of resetting our nervous system, recommitting to a meditation practice, recommitting to whatever it is that helps us rebalance is going to potentially open up a channel for divine inspiration and messages to come in. So I think we have to work from the physical inward. If you're the type of person that gets in those like moments of desperation, kind of like throws your hands up to the universe or whatever you believe in and is like, give me some answers, help me, show me the way, whatever it is, show me a sign. That usually can't happen as easily when we're in those moments of desperation. It comes in the moments of stillness, the moments of meditation, the moments where we're learning to breathe into the moment and be fully present so that divine inspiration can arrive. So I think that maybe we'll have a moment like early Monday that we're like, I need some answers. And then we learn to regulate the nervous system and come down. And by Tuesday, the answers can actually come in because we're not blocking them with our stressful thoughts. So definitely meditation practice on Tuesday if that's your thing. If you are a communicator yourself, this is very much communication energy, messages coming in, messages going out. Again, Mercury is still retrograde, so those things can be a little funky, but this could be a good day to kind of free write about your feelings, about your emotions, write those letters to people that you may or may not send in the future, write, God, wouldn't it be nice if we did write letters anymore? But you know what I mean. I wish that that was the world we lived in. We were sending each other snail mail. But it's a good day for channeling messages of many different forms, whether that be sort of more spiritual messages or actual messages to the outside world. Again, with the nose itching, what is that about? Someone might be trying to talk to you on Tuesday, and you're going to want to have a nervous system regulated to be open to that communication. And it might be because they've been thinking about you a lot. And this could be romantic, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it has to be. It feels like it's like just a really important interaction or conversation for someone. This feels like it's for maybe like 30% of the people that are going to be watching, that you may not be as open or receptive to if you're not regulated. And I don't mean that it's going to be like any bad news or anything like that. It feels like it's more, you'll miss the importance of it if you're spinning in your head. So again, be grounded, be present, let the day, the moment unfold as it's meant to, rather than try to get in your head about trying how to control the next action and control the next vibe and control the world around you. Let it flow to you. It's very receptive energy that we're working with on Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have Mars moving into Libra and the Sun square Lilith. And these are in the evening hours in Central Standard Time in America, 6:42 for Mars into Libra, or 6:24 for Mars into Libra, 8:18 for Sun square Lilith. But they're both talking about, let's take them separately. Mars into Libra is talking about our passionate nature, because Mars is passion, both sexual passion and also passion for the world around us, and also passion for fighting, passionate words, passionate interactions, into Libra, which is about more balance and people pleasing. So you could find with Mars and Libra that your passions get tempered in the name of trying to appease the world around you, which is not the best thing for us as individuals. So I am getting a hit just now that it will be necessary for some of us, though. It's going to be split into two camps. For some of us that lean towards the people pleasing more often, Mars into Libra is going to be a challenge to try and not lean too far into it, to not let ourselves be put to the wayside and our own passions be put to the wayside in favor of what the rest of the world needs from us. For those of us that are more prone to sort of fighting the world on a regular basis and really pushing back against things, whether it be the world around you, your relationships, kind of butting heads, Mars and Libra could be actually good for your energy of like, okay, let's see how we can meet in the middle here. How can we make a compromise? How can we make this be something that works out for everyone? And ideally, that's what we're all doing. Actually, that's what both sides are doing. How can we make this work out for everyone is the silver lining of Mars and Libra. Because if you're used to people pleasing, we're trying to make it work out more for you rather than more than everything for the outside world. And if you're used to butting heads with the outside world, we're trying to kind of make that meet in that middle ground with the outside world so that we're not constantly just focusing on our own agenda. So those are the two things that could be happening, but they both have the same message of how can we have an outcome that works out best for everyone? And that takes communication, and communication is hard during Mercury retrograde. So just be aware of that. Sun square Lilith is also a bit uncomfortable because the sun, our sense of self, our identity, is kind of fighting with or opposing or butting heads with Lilith, which is our wild side. So it's basically like the version of ourself that we feel like is presentable to the world and the version of ourselves that the society has told us is not presentable are coming together and butting heads. So I do feel like there is this element of balance that's at play with Mars and Libra of like trying to, I don't want to say please everyone, but like learn to compromise, but also learning to compromise within ourselves as well. Like learning to let that wild side of us still have a place and a voice without totally disregarding the fact that sometimes that wild side has to be packaged in a pretty package of the sun sign that the world is used to seeing us as. So, or we're especially what we're used to seeing ourselves as, because the sun is really kind of how we identify ourselves. So that's definitely an energy that's happening again towards the evening. And our card is the Page of Pentacles reversed. The first of several reverse cards that we have this week. So again, Monday, Tuesday, things are going to be a little bit easier to get in order. Wednesday, they start to get a little dicey. The Page of Pentacles is an apprentice energy. It's a just starting out in some realm of either money-making, career, or sometimes home life, the things that have to do with your feelings of security and safety. So I think for most of us, this is a money career conversation. If you do find that you're, wanting to make over your home, or maybe you're moving in with a blended family or moving in with a partner and your home life is getting like kind of shook up. It could be related to that for you. But I'm going to focus on the conversation about money and career, because this feels like it's dipping our toe into something unfamiliar when it comes to making money and creating security in our lives, and not feeling ready for it. This is very much a start before you're ready energy. And I feel like internally we're having a bit of a struggle with that. There's a little bit of imposter syndrome coming through with this, which also makes sense with our sun square Lilith, because again, the sun is our identity, how we feel presented to the world. Lilith is kind of this innermost shadow version of ourselves that we don't feel like we can present to the world. And so there's this feeling of like Lilith might even be the part of you, your shadow side, your wild side might be the part of you that actually helps you get rid of that imposter syndrome, that helps you feel more at home in this new endeavor. Because I think the imposter syndrome is coming from who you've identified as prior to this moment. And we're actually redefining ourselves, but we're redefining ourselves based on what's already within us, just the parts of ourselves that we haven't let the world see as much. Ooh, that I got chills with that. That's an important message for someone. So your imposter syndrome, in whatever scenario you find yourself in on Wednesday, is about being able to accept the part of you that the world told you was unacceptable, because that is the secret that's going to unlock your ability to be the person that you're meant to be moving forward. Yeah. That's just like echoing in my brain. So that feels really important. So who you thought you were up until this moment is still a part of you. But there's this part of you shoved in a back corner that you wanted people to not know was a part of who you are, that has to come forward and be seen by the outside world, and more importantly, be integrated and accepted by you, for you to fully step into this role and turn this card upright and feel like you're no longer an imposter in whatever it is that you're trying to do. I love that. I love that for everyone. So that's Wednesday. Thursday, again, quieter astrology. The moon moves signs. We go from the moon in Capricorn to the moon in Aquarius during the evening hours. So evening hours, you might feel a shift away from that sort of like more business-like emotional mindset to a more free-spirited, love the world, sort of innovative mindset. Love the world's kind of a reach. Aquarius is very a fan of humanity, we'll put it that way. So again, very subtle energy happening with the moon. If you do have a moon in Capricorn or a moon in Aquarius, you might feel a little more in your own vibe whenever these things happen. So the card is really what we're reading for the day of Thursday, and that is Judgment reversed. So this feels really interesting to me on an energetic level. If you're new here, know that I do read tarot cards, as like I know how to read them, but I always trust the energy first. And the energy I'm getting off of this card feels a little chaotic. Let's just walk through it a little bit. So the Judgment card upright is sort of a phoenix rising from the ashes. It's like you've gone through the trials and tribulations. A part of you has been burnt to ash, and you're now rising up and being rewarded for your efforts, at least in an ideal world, because judgment is also a judgment of who you were before you were burnt to those ashes. So if you've done well in your karmic energy, then you will be redeemed. And in a more traditional, like Christian mindset of things, we've got like the angel Gabriel coming to claim souls and salvation after the judgment day or whatever. But you don't have to resonate with the religious storyline. It's just like that's a good metaphor for what we're talking about here. We're talking about going through this period of time where we're weighed, like, and there's a metaphor for it in the Egyptian mythology as well, where like your soul is weighed. Is it your soul or your heart is weighed against a feather? And if it's heavier than the feather, we've got that whole scale action going on, which is fitting in just a moment. We'll get to that. But it has the potential for being a rebirth, for being a resurrection, a phoenix rising from the ashes. When it's reversed, in the energy, I'm getting this energy of kind of echoing, yes, the message from the day before. There's a resistance. Like it's almost like this phoenix is that integration of your Lilith and your sun sign that we just talked about. And you're having big resistance behind integrating that dark feminine shadow self version of you. So let's kind of break down what that might mean, because I know we throw around terms like the shadow side or dark feminine or dark side or whatever, shadow self. The shadow self can be several different things. It's something that on some unconscious or conscious level, you're ashamed to identify as. So it could be that it's a masculine feminine spectrum thing, that you grew up a certain gender, and the other side of the spectrum you've been trained all your life is not as acceptable for you to embody. So if you're masculine, you're not supposed to be emotional. If you're feminine, you're not supposed to be assertive. Like whatever those storylines are, that's the shadows. That's the Lilith shadow version of ourselves. It's like, oh, that's inappropriate for me as whatever gender I'm presenting in the world as. And we're breaking down those thought patterns and recognizing that that's not true. We're all part of this whole spectrum. And the more happy we want to be, the more we need to integrate all parts of that spectrum. So there's that element to it. There's like that society has placed this judgment of inappropriateness on you. Then there's the tiny little moments, like that were by our caregivers or our teachers or what have you, where it was just a little moment where you did something at the wrong moment and someone got really upset with you. And as a child trying to fear for your own safety, you adapted and you put that part of yourself into a closet. And it could be literally I'm not literally into a closet, but what we think of when we think of coming out of the closet, it could be a gender-based, sexuality-based thing, but it also could be something really innocuous, like you were playing with a toy instrument at the wrong time for your caregiver and they really got upset with you. And so you never played that instrument again. And now you're being called to pick that instrument back up. And it's bringing up this nervous system like habit within your body that it's not going to be safe for you to play that instrument. That's really the biggest message I'm getting from this for this week, because we have been talking about regulating the nervous system, finding those ways to do that. And we're also talking about integrating this like shadow self. So whatever it is from your upbringing, even from past lives. So if you know anything about your past lives, P.S. I do past life readings. So if you want to know about that, soul sessions are available over on my website. But sometimes the habits from your past lives where you were like harmed or killed or, told that things were wrong still bleed over into this lifetime. So you may not even have an event that you can attach it to, but a lot of times it's something that we can attach it to, that like we did something that felt authentic to us at the time, and someone made us feel unsafe or unloved in some way when we did that thing. And in actuality, it wasn't something that we needed to be ashamed of or put away, but because of the flawed, system that we are raised by fellow humans, it happened. And we're now doing the work within our nervous system to be able to bring those things back out of the closet, out of the shadows, out of the hiding that they've been in. And we have to do the work to make ourselves feel safe doing that process. And that just means doing what we talked about on Monday. Learning ways to regulate your nervous system through breath, through body work, through meditation. And it could be something that it doesn't even make sense, that you're feeling really triggered by something. I'm going to do a tangent real quick because I feel like this is going to make more sense for someone. So I mentioned that I'm following the Pain Academy on YouTube. I'm not at all sponsored or so affiliated with them at all, but I do really enjoy their shorts content. And it's because I've been looking into a lot, trying to find more symmetry in my body, the way that my body works. To kind of abbreviate a storyline. I was born premature. I was in an incubator for the first 3 months of my life. My feet were like splayed out while I was laid on my back because you laid babies on the back at the time. And my feet have always had a turnout. And through yoga, one of my feet has corrected itself a little bit more to go straight forward, but the other one hasn't. And because I read bodies and read energies, I know from reading my own body that it's because like my outer glute, my outer thigh doesn't turn on as well as the other side, and it needs to rotate my thigh in, and my inner thigh needs to pull up and rotate. It's a whole thing. I know what's happening in my body, but I have to then mentally communicate to my physical form how to readjust these things. And the crazy thing is in doing this and reformulating these neuro pathways, these like relationships in my body, it's triggering stuff in my nervous system that makes no sense for just trying to make my foot turn forward. Like it's coming from a deeper level. And the reason that is because when our body, again, this is on a physical level, but like let's take it for whatever we're going to apply this to. When our body makes an adjustment to a flaw in the system, whatever it is, because we have to still continue to move about in the world. And so we all have different asymmetries and things that our body's accommodating and making acceptance for. It's doing it out of a place of survival. So your nervous system, when you try to correct these things that have been an imbalance for years and years and years, and you're trying to actually make it go the way that it's supposed to go, whether it be in your physical body or in the things that you're passionate about and you want to do in the world, the things you're naturally drawn to, you're going towards something that is correct. But because your body's been making the compensations and your nervous system has been making the compensations for this other path for so long, it feels threatened when you try to correct it and do it a different way. So again, apply this either way. I'm making my body's weird stuff a metaphor for you doing something in the world, because either way, we've overcorrected because of some flaw in the system, some flaw in our upbringing, some flaw in our physical form. And we now are trying to recorrect it, but it's gonna feel 10 times more threatening than it logically should to your nervous system to do this. So when I'm activating my outer thigh and glute muscles to correct the alignment of my left foot, I have to breathe deeply through it. I get immediately surged with like adrenaline and the need to do something to pacify my nervous system. There's a couple of different coping mechanisms that I have that I won't get into, but I feel called to do things to pacify myself when that happens in a way that feels like I'm like almost in a fight or flight mode. So that's what could be happening for a lot of us this week with this imposter syndrome, with this pulling of the shadow self into the forefront of things. We're like, oh no, we've thought for so long that this is the way that we're supposed to do things. And our nervous system is reacclimated to not having that part of ourselves be seen. And when we start to pull it forward, even when it's something that's not actually going to be a threat to us, it feels threatening on a deep cellular level. So that's what we're talking about here. So that's why this card feels so complex and so chaotic, because we're talking about like nervous system stuff that really doesn't make logical sense. And we have to just trust that breathing through things, learning those coping strategies that we talked about on Monday are going to help get us through this. And we have to keep reminding ourselves that this is just a natural reaction to the overcompensation that we've been making for decades. So it's not that anything's wrong with you. It's not that there's anything wrong with you pulling these parts of yourselves forward. It's that your body is having to reformulate the way that it views things and the way that it acts and the way that it sees your safety and your survival. Whew, I told you we need some deep breaths and some grounding this week. So that's why we grew our roots at the beginning of this reading. That is Thursday. Friday, I mentioned something about scales of judgment on our judgment card. And I was like, wait a minute, that's going to come in handy later, because on Friday, we have the Justice card, which is literally the scales. And also the scales that are associated with Libra. So we have our Mars in Libra that also echoes this energy. So again, it's reversed. So this is a card of karma. It's you get back what you put out in the world. Again, I get the feeling that this is coming back to that false story that our nervous system is telling us. Because with it reversed, it feels like we think we're going to be punished for something that we don't, that karmically we're getting our just desserts, and our just desserts are not dessert. And this, again, is a fallacy that our nervous system is telling us from overcorrections that we've made to accommodate for flaws in the system. So you actually do have some really good karma coming your way, but you have to remind your body and your nervous system of that. You have to convince your nervous system of that. And that only happens from showing up repeatedly and observing the results of sort of that, what is it called? Aversion therapy, where you, like, if you're afraid of something, you go straight towards it. That's what this is. Like, it's like, in order to get over this idea that we will be punished for being X, Y, and Z and letting the world see that, we have to just be X, Y, and Z and continue to show up as X, Y, and Z and look around and be like, no one's punishing me. Or sometimes someone might not like it, but like for the most part, you're like, oh, I'm still surviving. Like because that's what our nervous system is afraid of. It's like, oh, we're not going to live through this if we pull this part of ourselves out forward. And we have to just continue to do it and recognize that we're making our way through it. Even if sometimes it does get hard, either internally or externally, we're still surviving. And honestly, we're going to start to thrive because we are being more authentic to ourselves. And again, if you're trying to make something happen in your financial life, in your career, being the authentic version of yourself is how we're making that happen. So if your own happiness and nervous system regulation in a proper way doesn't motivate you, let the potential abundance that could come your way motivate you. So if you are more of a Capricorn mindset where the money's going to bring you into the and to do the work, let that be it. But hopefully for most of us, we also want to do it just for our own well-being and our own self-care. We want to be able to heal these things. This is deep, guys. This is a good week to have a mentor, a coach, a therapist, a resource on hand, just to be able to talk through this stuff. Because I think we're all going to get through it, but there's going to be some thoughts that are not accurate about threats to our safety that are coming forward. And we need someone to be able to mirror back a logical perspective to us. Someone may want a Reiki session. It may not be from me. If you don't want to get a Reiki session from me, that's fine. But if you do, if you resonate with my energy, I'm getting the feeling that someone specifically watching this is going to feel like this week is a good week for some Reiki or what I call a body session. So again, you know where to find that. michelleshawalker.com/book-a-reading. It's really easy to find on my website, or at least I think it is. That is Friday. Moving in to Saturday. We get a full moon, which I like. It's not a dark moon. If it was the new moon, we'd be feeling that dark moon energy coming forward, which would just be a lot for this week. The full moon is illuminating something for us, and it's illuminating something for us in regards to Aquarius, because it's an Aquarius full moon. Specifically, if you know where Aquarius is in your chart, that's going to really help you know what's being illuminated. It's going to shine a light on something that I feel like is kind of the end cap to all the work we're doing this week. For my fellow Aquarius risings, that makes a lot of sense, because Aquarius risings, it'll be in your first house. The first house is how we present ourselves to the world. And most of this conversation was about like bringing the parts of yourself you don't think are presentable forward and being okay with that. But it will resonate for you in whatever house that it is in. Again, if you're new here, you find out what your rising sign is. If you don't know your birth time, you won't know this. So we'll just kind of like, you're going to skip over that. But if you do know your rising sign, I like to think of the rising sign as the first house. There are different schools of thought on this, but my personal resonance for it in my own chart and other people's chart is that your rising sign is your first house. And then whatever signs come next on the calendar year, you're going to count from your rising sign through those signs until you get to Aquarius, and whatever number Aquarius is, look up that house, find out what that house rules, and that's going to be the area of your life that this full moon is illuminating something. And I think it's illuminating something that you're bringing out of the shadows, that you're bringing to light, that you're letting the world see you as. So that's happening. And that's like early morning in Central Standard Time. So 2:54 a.m. Central Standard Time. So it'll be kind of bleeding from the night before into the morning and then affecting about 24 hours on either side of that time period. We also have Mars opposite Neptune. So we have that Mars and Libra happening earlier in the week. Mars and Libra is now opposite our Neptune in Aries. Yes, Neptune in Aries. So both of these planets are, no, that's not right. I was going to say both of these planets are retrograde, but Mars is not retrograde. Mars in Libra is opposite Neptune in Aries. And that just means that our passion, again, whether it be good passion or fighting passion, and our dreams are kind of in opposition of one another. And I think this is, again, coming from that nervous system conversation, in that we have some things that we've put away that are a part of our grander dreams. But Mars, which is a very fight or flighty energy, is preventing us from wanting to bring that forward. Our fight or flight is preventing us from wanting to bring our true self dreams out into the open. So I feel like that's the conversation that's happening with the Mars opposite Neptune. That's 5:12 p.m. on Friday, Central Standard Time. So again, we're continuing this conversation. The blanket statement I have for this week is regulate your nervous system. Even if you don't know what you're regulating it for, like, you don't have to know what psychological, physiological things that you're actually working on. If you feel like you need to regulate, do something to regulate. And sometimes that's enough. Like, there are ways to be able to learn to regulate your nervous system and not have to tell yourself the full story of how you got here. Sometimes you do. Sometimes it's helpful to go back in time and be like, oh, so-and-so told me that this wasn't okay, and I need to now reevaluate that because that was a flawed human being, and I can recognize that they were wrong about that, and I can bring this part of myself forward. You can do that journey. But sometimes you can also just be like, ooh, I'm feeling uncomfortable with this. Let me breathe into it. Let me regulate myself, and then let me bring this thing forward. And then that could be that simple. As we move into Sunday, we have the moon moving into Pisces. Pisces moon here. Might get a little more intuitive. Might also get a little more indulgent with your emotions. Might also have some fantasies about some past loves. And then Mars is trine Pluto. So Mars and Libra. Good luck. Triangle. With Pluto, the planet of change. So I think Sundays where we kind of break through. Sundays are our opportunity to be like, oh, I didn't even talk about the card on Saturday. Hold, please. Back up. Rewind. Card on Saturday is the Pentacles reversed. So this is an opportunity potentially for money and abundance coming through that we don't quite feel ready for, but I think we're almost ready for it. And I think that this is kind of like whatever was happening on Wednesday, we're pulling it into Saturday and being like, okay, it's time. It's go time. Like, let's go ahead and try and flip this card upright, because this is a really golden opportunity and we want to make sure that we're moving forward. And I feel like it's really fitting for it coming through on a Saturday, because it feels like maybe the opportunity itself is presented to you on Wednesday, and like Saturday you start to be like, oh, okay, I just gotta work on it. I just gotta show up. Like I was talking about, like that fear aversion therapy. Like it's like, I just got to go into the lion's cage and sit with the lions and be okay with that. And that's going to help you kind of turn that energy right set up. So Sunday, we have that Mars trine Pluto that I mentioned. We have the moon in Pisces. The card is the King of Swords. And this is where we're really starting to find our footing, find our voice, find our mindset around what we want to do and who we want to be and how we want to be seen. And I think that has been really hard earned over a very short period of time. I mean, let's face it, it's over a lifetime and a week. But there's a lot going on in this week as far as reworking how we view ourselves, how we view our world, and how we pacify these fight or flight nervous system protections that we have in place. And the King of Swords is a beautiful one to come through at the end of it, because it really is kind of like, I've found my place. And I feel okay with utilizing my voice, communicating what I need. I also feel okay with creating boundaries and like recognizing that sometimes those things that the past people have told me that were not good or bad or that I had to put away were not accurate. And I mean, sometimes we have those thought patterns based on something that was absolutely innocuous at the time. Again, like I said, like it's like you were playing a musical instrument at a time that was just annoying for your caregiver, and they got mad at you, and then you decided never to play that instrument again. And even in your caregiver's mindset, I don't think that it's something that necessarily the people around you are like, oh no, never be that. It's like, not right now. But as a child, you took it as that's wrong and that's bad, and you can't be that. You can't do that. You can't embody that. And we're learning how to embody, and we're learning how to cut ties with those thought patterns, whether they be meaningfully pushed upon us or accidentally pushed upon us, that certain aspects of ourselves were bad or wrong. I also love the King of Swords because the Queen of Swords is very strict with her boundaries. The King of Swords is so powerfully in alignment that they don't have to be as strict with their boundaries. Not to say that the Queen of Swords is any lesser than, but like Queen of Swords is like really going to protect herself, going to pull up the drawbridge at any sign of any fuckwittery. And the King of Swords is like, I don't really care if you're going to be fuckwit, because I'm just not going to pay attention to you. So like the boundaries are more like in the mind than in the physical world. Ooh, I've never translated that way, but I like that translation. So the Queen of Swords feels like the boundaries are more in the physical world of like, I'm not going to interact with you because I don't like your vibe. King of Swords is like, you can be in the same space as me, but I have a mental drawbridge that I can draw up. And like, I'm going to recognize the ridiculousness of certain opinions, certain energies, certain connections. And like, if they want to be in the orbit, they can be, but they're not going to affect me because I am strong in my own individual stance and in who I am. Yeah, it's just like the outside world's opinion don't matter whenever you really, truly believe in yourself and have honored all parts of yourself. And it's still going to be a work in progress. This is not the end of the game with this conversation that we're having this week, but it is a really, really good sign of amazing progress over the course of 7 days. Please take care of yourselves this week. Don't rush this process. Don't get overwhelmed with this process. I promise it gets better sooner than you think it will. as I was mentioning with my stuff that I'm working with, which is my physical body and regulating my nervous system, it felt really uncomfortable for the first like 5 days that I was working on this stuff. And then it got really magical after that. So just be consistent and continue to show up for yourself and show up for this process and seek out expert or outside help when you need to. Again, energy healing, therapy, conversations, journaling, spiritual guides, prayer, whatever it is that resonates for you, that's going to be big this week, especially starting on Tuesday. Tuesday feels like when those messages were coming through with our Eight of Wands. It's a good day to get outside perspectives or spiritual perspectives on something, but throughout the week as well. Like when you feel like you need another perspective, please ask for it, because sometimes it's just as simple as someone tweaking the way we're looking at something that's going to make all the difference. I think that's it for the week. If you don't know, at this point in the reading, I select from my paid subscribers and or people that have tipped their reader, and I do a randomized spin of a wheel online to draw a name and do a personalized reading. I also like to begin this process by thanking my paid subscribers. This week we didn't have any individual tips, so these are all my like committed paid subscribers on Substack, and I'm so thankful for that support. And I want to thank Francis, who won last week's drawing. So not present on this board, but Francis, thank you for being a paid subscriber. And then also all of my other paid subscribers. We've got Holly, Amanda, Tracy, Caitlin, Sonia, and Jane. Welcome to the paid subscriber pool. So if you're watching this and you're not one of those names, but you do want to be a part of this drawing every week, you can become a paid subscriber or on Substack. It's $5 a month or $50 for the entire year. So you save $10 if you do an annual subscription. And you literally get entered into every weekly reading drawing except for the weeks after you've already won. So you get like a week off if you won the week before. But other than that, you get a lot of opportunities for a personalized reading, which is way cheaper than it would be to do a one-on-one session with me. So it's a good way to get your insights on a personal level. And again, you support this channel, you support the things that I'm creating. And there are some new things coming up soon that may be just for paid subscribers. So a little teaser there might be a good time to get in on that. Okay, so I'm going to spin this wheel and we're going to see who wins the personalized reading. So here we go. I have no control. We just let this thing, and I can't read backwards on the screen, so I got to look afterwards. Caitlin! Yay! All right, Caitlin, I feel like it's been a little bit since you got a reading. So I could be wrong about that, though, because I kind of blank out when I do these. But I'm glad you're getting a reading this week, and we're going to pull some cards. I feel like I'm torn between the decks. Hang on. Let me do a little feel out, because I'm like, do I use the one that we just did our weekly reading? Yeah, that one's calling more to me. There was a little moment there where I was like, ooh, maybe we're pulling out the Lioness Oracle. I think that was maybe a little bit of Taurus luxury energy that was wanting to come through for that. So let me shuffle up the deck and we'll just see what kind of past, present, future cards are coming through for Caitlin. If you're feeling called to stick around and you're not Caitlin, that probably means that there's a message that's going to be contained in this reading that's still relevant to you, because we're all dealing with similar energies as part of a collective. So there's going to be like a sentence or a phrase or something like that that'll resonate. So feel free to stick around if that's the case. But for Caitlin specifically, let's just dive in and we'll let the cards dictate what it is, what areas of the life we're talking about, what the message is. That one wants to come out very softly, wanted to come out. It's like, I'm not going to fly out of the deck. I'm just going to sneak out as a single card in the palm. And then this one's going to fly out. So we've got past, present, and then we got another flyer, future. Okay, so moving into our cards for Caitlin. Ooh, interesting. So, Caitlin, your recent past is the Lover's card. This is a divinely guided union. And I think it's both, which I love to see. So everyone loves to see the Lover's card because people like love and they like having a partnership come through. But this feels like it's both. Like you've done a lot of work on your internal balance of divine feminine and divine masculine energy, those two parts of the spectrum that we talked about earlier. And you also have been finding that that's creating more balance in your external relationships as well. This feels really good. Like, I feel like if you don't already have something coming up, this feels like it could be a really good time period to be, because again, this is the recent past, but it feels like it's a good energy that you could be planning like a romantic getaway with a partner, or some I'm trying to remember from your personal story if there could be a wedding coming up. Something like that. This feels like a good little recent past, like refresh of romantic energy, because you've done such a good job of your own self integration. The present card is coming through with the death card. So I want to pause, because most of the time I always want to remind everyone that the death card doesn't necessarily mean death. It's a metaphorical, and it's always like a death and a rebirth of something. It's the present. So if a death has occurred, you know already. So I don't want this to be like a fear-based thing. I feel like it's something that you do know. But if you have had someone in your space, a pet, a family member, someone that you know, pass on, this is a reminder that it's also a rebirth of a new energy, that they're now in the spiritual realm and can help you out in different ways. But if that doesn't resonate, because again, I don't get a strong pull either way. I feel like it could be either and or both of these things. It could be also that you are experiencing a rebirth in your experience of yourself, because we have talked about this transformation that we're going through in this week. So the present moment, it feels like there's this redefining of who you are based on those parts of yourself that you've maybe been kept hidden that are coming forward. And I think this also might have something to do with that, like self-integration of the divine feminine, divine masculine. Like, I feel like there's this feeling of like there was a version of yourself that you always pictured that this union would look like. And because you've done such a good job of integrating, it looks a little differently. Like maybe the roles, I feel like I've gotten that a couple of times with readings for you. Like there's something about like gender roles being a little bit different in regards to the household. But also there's this feeling of like, it doesn't feel bad, but it's like, this doesn't look like what childhood you would have expected. Whatever this new version of you that's kind of not even coming forward, it's always been within you, this rebirth. But there's something coming up in the current climate that you're redefining the way that your childhood self would have viewed this dream that's occurring. Interesting. I'm getting very dry in my mouth and like a little bit of a twinge in the throat. So this could have to do a little bit with communicating and speaking up for yourself, or creating something with your voice, because the throat chakra is also like creation, and especially like writing. Interesting. I'm going to put one last little like maybe sprinkle on this. With this being rebirth and this whole refreshed energy in a partnership, this also could potentially, and I don't even know if this is something that's on your agenda, be like a birth or like a pregnancy. But that's kind of odd for the death card to be that. So it could, again, it's more likely that it's an energetic rebirth within you. But there is like a little whisper of that. Yeah, there's a little whisper of all those things that could be connected to one another in some way. Okay. I'm going to like do a little bit of an energy cleanse right now. Something in that feels like it needs something kind of washed off. So like, let's just like kind of like, again, it feels like it's all positive. The transformation is really positive, but it does feel like it's leaving a bit of a film. that we're just clearing away. I think the message that I'm getting is like, you're becoming who you always wanted to be, but it just looks different. And your life is becoming what you wanted it to be, but it looks a little different in this moment. Take a moment, put your hands on your heart. Take a deep breath in. And deep breath out. Okay. Moving into your future. 6 of Wands reversed. I feel like this might be a card that's come up before in a personal reading that you've won. Because what I'm about to say feels like a familiar message. The 6 of Wands is being put in a position of elevated visibility in some way. Yeah, I've definitely had this card for you before because I got like big mommy blogger energy coming through, whether it was like literal or metaphorical. In your circle, whatever that looks like, people are looking up to you, but you're not feeling quite worthy of it in the near future. And it could be because of some of this heaviness that's coming forward right now, but it's part of that heaviness that's making you so valuable in a more visible position. With the throat chakra coming in the present, there might be something that you need, like a story that you need to tell and share with other people. I feel like it's something to do with like, I'm getting, this is such a weird scene to be getting. There's a scene in the Sex and the City 2 movie where Miranda and Charlotte get together and have a drink and like say all the things that mommies aren't supposed to say about how hard it is. And I'm getting some of that. Like there's a feeling of like talking about a hardship in regards to something that is joyful, but like having someone else around you that's looking up to you need to hear that story. I'm so intrigued by this. And I was intrigued by it the last time this came up as well. So, Caitlin, if you want to DM me and let me know what's happening, I would love to hear the story behind how this is landing for you. Yeah, because this card definitely came up before. And I mean, I know you personally, and I know that you're a mother, and I don't purposely go into the readings expecting to just talk about motherhood, but it does come forward a lot. And again, like the best metaphor I get when this comes forward is like a mommy blogger of like, but it's like whatever version of that is for you. I mean, if you want to start a mommy blog, it might be really lucrative. That might be that business opportunity that's coming up. But it's definitely this feeling of like telling it like it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and letting that be medicine for someone that's noticing you. And it could be as simple as like maybe you share on Instagram like something that's happening, because this doesn't necessarily have to be like it could be a really visible like online platform, or it could just be like someone in your social circle needs to hear it and like they look up to you. And so if you're saying it, they feel better about their own shadow self that they've put away of feeling the way that they feel. Yeah, very intriguing. But again, we're trying to get you more comfortable with that, with being seen. Like you don't quite feel ready, and you're more ready than you think you are. So again, I would say start small. If this is supposed to be like a big, like global platform of some kind, it doesn't have to. You don't have to get there immediately. You take the steps that you feel comfortable with, and it gets you to whatever level you're supposed to go. Underneath the deck, we have the 6 of Pentacles. So this is a really fitting for what I was just talking about with the 6 of Wands, because 6 of Pentacles is a give and a take. It's a gifting your knowledge to the outside world, recognizing that you've acquired certain things. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's like, hey, I'm gonna give to charity because I have money. But in this case, I feel like it's like you've acquired a certain amount of knowledge in a certain area, and it's only right karmically for you to give some of that knowledge back to the world. And it's like a give and a take energy. So it's like you give the knowledge back to the world and the world gives you something back in return. So it's a balance. Okay, that's the reading. I want to pull a goddess card. I'm getting pulled towards some more divine feminine support for you right now, Caitlin. So let's see what's happening. Let's see who wants to play. Oh, right away. Ooh, I like this one. Ooh, this is looking good, full circle moment. So we have Vesta. Vesta is played by Liv Tyler in Empire Records. And she, because I channeled all the translations to these cards, hers came through as the hardest to translate, but also the most interesting. So in the movie Empire Records, Liv Tyler is a virgin who wants to like give herself to the rock star that she's been a fan of since she was younger. And he ends up, whatever. She doesn't end up doing that. But the message behind Vesta, because Vesta is like a goddess of like kind of hearth and home type energy. And specifically there's a flame that's constantly burning in Vesta's temple that the Vestal virgins tend to. And so this is also a message. There's a twofold message that I have for this card. So the one message is like passion and like channeling your passion into the relationships that are worthwhile. So that could be coming in with this Lovers card. Also channeling your passion into the endeavors and the causes that are worthwhile to you. But it's also an energy of making your own family. And it in the actual listing in the book that I wrote, it's recognize it. And if you have the first edition, it's actually not the same as the one that I have for the second edition. So no one that has this deck has this definition of this card fully listed. So let me just read that out loud, because it does specifically mention something about like your family doesn't have to be birthed from your loins. So I don't think that that's as relevant for this one, but there may be 24 usable hours in every day, but don't burn your candle at both ends. Likewise, share your sexual heat selectively. It's sacred. Go easy on the urge to procreate as well. Not every brood needs to spring from your loins. True family shows up when your empire needs saving and won't leave until the party's over. Cherish the sweetness of your chosen clan to catch a real sugar high. So there's a lot of nods to the movie references and that, as all of the definitions to these cards have. But the thing I want you to take away from that is like cherish your chosen family, which in your case probably is the family you've created. But there's a cherish of the chosen family. There's recognizing that the people around you are showing up for you. And there's also like a sharing of your passion, but with the audiences that are going to really fully appreciate it. I hope that helps. But it's a great card for like both recognizing your like sensual, like lover nature and also your family making nature. So I feel like that resonates for the cards here. Thank you for being a subscriber. Again, please feel free to message me. Let me know what's happening. I'm very curious. And if you are someone that watched to the end of this reading, I hope that you got something out of that reading as well. Again, there's a link below if you want to tip your reader, or if you want to just become a paid subscriber, you'll get entered into the rest of these readings, and you'll also get the goodies that could potentially be showing up pretty soon for paid subscribers only. Have a wonderful week. Take care of yourself. Drink lots of water. Breathe through it. And if anybody needs a session, you can find that at links below or michelleshayWalker.com.